Have you ever felt a stirring deep within, an undeniable call to let go of what no longer serves you? A yearning to break free from routines and expectations that once comforted you, but now feel like chains? If so, you're not alone. This journey, this transformation, is not about losing yourself. It's about discovering the person you were divinely created to be. Today, let's explore a profound truth. The shedding of old ways isn't a breaking down, but a sacred becoming. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more inspiring content to guide your spiritual walk. When life urges us to grow, it often begins with discomfort. Those voices of validation we once craved grow faint, and the applause we sought starts to sound hollow. For the chosen of God, this isn't failure, it's awakening. It's the moment when the soul whispers, "This is not your destination. You're meant for more." As we embrace this sacred shedding, we leave behind the burdens that weigh us down. Real power isn't in holding on, but in releasing, in trusting the process of transformation. For years, we might have lived for the approval of others. Every compliment, every nod of agreement fed a hunger for validation. Yet, with time, we realize this hunger is insatiable because it's rooted in fear of being unseen, misunderstood, or unvalued. But when you walk in alignment with God's calling, you begin to understand that living for human approval is a cage. No one can define your worth except the one who created you. As the Apostle Paul asked in Galatians, "Am I now trying to win the approval of people or of God?" Letting go of external validation doesn't mean you stop caring about others. It means you stop performing for their applause. Your value isn't tied to their opinions, but rooted in God's truth. This realization brings a freedom that the world cannot offer, a quiet joy that fills the soul when you know your worth is secure in Him. As we continue this journey, another veil lifts. Society often measures success by what we own, the car we drive, the home we live in, the possessions we accumulate. These symbols of achievement, though alluring, are fleeting. They can never fill the deeper longing of the heart. The chosen of God come to see through this illusion. When we tie our joy to material things, our peace becomes fragile. A broken gadget, an unexpected expense, or a job loss can shatter it. But when our peace is rooted in God, it's unshakable. Jesus reminded us not to store treasures on earth where they decay, but to invest in treasures of the heart. True wealth isn't about possessions, but about the richness of our spirit, the depth of our relationships, and the joy of living authentically. Simplifying our lives can feel daunting. Yet, as we loosen our grip on things, we create space for what truly matters. Donate what you no longer need. Invest in experiences over objects. Prioritize love and connection over status symbols. In this freedom, you will find a life so full, it overflows not because of what you hold in your hands, but because of what fills your heart. This path also challenges us to confront our need for control. We often believe that if we plan meticulously and work tirelessly, we can steer life in our desired direction. But the harder we grip, the more life seems to slip through our fingers. Control is an illusion born from fear. The truth is, no matter how much we plan, some things remain beyond our grasp. Trust, however, is the antidote to fear. Trust in the God who sees the end from the beginning. As Proverbs teaches, we are called to lean not on our understanding, but to trust in the Lord with all our hearts. Letting go of control isn't about giving up. It's about stepping back and allowing God to lead. His plans, though sometimes mysterious, are always for our good. When plans unravel, pause and pray. Ask God, "What are you teaching me here?" Slowly, you'll find peace not just in the destinations, but in the detours, knowing every step is guided by His loving hand. Release your grip and watch as God unfolds a life far greater than anything you could imagine. As you grow in this journey, you'll find certain relationships that no longer align with where you're headed. Toxic connections can weigh us down, keeping us from moving forward. These relationships might feel familiar, but not every connection is meant to last forever. Letting go of toxic ties is not an act of selfishness, but of self-preservation. Ask yourself, does this relationship draw me closer to God or pull me away? Toxic relationships aren't always dramatic. Sometimes they manifest subtly: a friend who drains your energy, a partner who erodes your confidence, or a relative who disregards your boundaries. The process of releasing such connections begins with clarity and courage. Set boundaries that protect your peace. Love from a distance when necessary. Forgive, but don't re-enter the orbit of those who harm your soul. Letting go is not about rejection. It's about choosing to prioritize your calling and purpose. This journey toward God's higher calling asks for authenticity. Living authentically means shedding the masks we wear to please others. It's exhausting to pretend to be someone we're not, to mold ourselves into shapes that fit the world's expectations. Over time, this compromise erodes the soul. Authenticity requires bravery. It means standing firm in your values, even when it sets you apart. It means pursuing your unique calling with unapologetic determination. Each of us is fearfully and wonderfully made, a masterpiece of divine design. Pretending to be anything less is a disservice to God's creation. When you begin to live authentically, something extraordinary happens. The relationships that thrive in your authenticity are the ones worth keeping. The opportunities that align with your true self find their way to you. It's a process, but with each step, you'll feel a deep alignment, a sense of purpose that can't be shaken. In this shedding of old ways, even our perspective on death begins to change. For many, death is a mystery to be feared, a looming shadow that stirs anxiety. But for those walking in God's anointing, death is not an end, it's a transition. It's the next chapter in a story written by a loving Creator. The fear of death often robs us of fully living. But when we see death through the lens of faith, its sting loses power. Life becomes not a race against the clock, but a canvas to be painted with love, courage, and purpose. As the Apostle Paul wrote, "Where, O death, is your victory? Where, O death, is your sting?" When we let go of this fear, we live more boldly. We take risks for the sake of love. We pour into others with open hearts. We savor each moment, knowing that life is a gift and eternity awaits. The pursuit of material success often feels like chasing the wind. Society has conditioned us to believe that wealth, possessions, and outward displays of success are the ultimate markers of fulfillment. But when we truly reflect, do these things bring lasting peace? For those on a divine journey, this realization unfolds gradually. The cars, the designer clothes, the sprawling homes, they may provide fleeting satisfaction, but they cannot fill the void within the soul. Imagine standing in a room full of treasures, yet feeling hollow. This is the experience of many who achieve material success without spiritual grounding. Over time, you come to see that no amount of accumulation can replace the joy of simplicity, the richness of relationships, and the fulfillment of a purpose-driven life. As Jesus reminded us in Matthew 6 verses 19 to 21, treasures stored on earth are vulnerable to decay, theft, and loss. But treasures stored in heaven? They are eternal, untouched by the fragility of this world. Highly anointed people, those who walk closely with divine purpose, begin to understand this truth in profound ways. They learn to release their grip on material things, not because having possessions is wrong, but because their value is fleeting. It's a subtle but transformative shift from seeing material wealth as an end to understanding it as a tool for greater good. When your peace is tied to what you own, it becomes fragile. A broken appliance, a sudden financial loss, or an unforeseen expense can send you into turmoil. But when your peace is rooted in God, it becomes unshakable. Letting go of attachments doesn't mean renouncing all possessions or adopting a life of poverty. It's about shifting your perspective. It's the difference between owning things and letting things own you. You can live in a grand home and still have a heart free of greed. You can manage great wealth and still walk humbly with God. It's about prioritizing what truly matters. Reflect for a moment. What are you holding on to that is weighing you down? Perhaps it's a collection of things that no longer bring joy, but clutter your space and heart. Or maybe it's the relentless drive for more, a bigger house, a better car, a higher-paying job. Ask yourself, is this pursuit bringing me closer to who God has called me to be, or is it pulling me further away? Simplifying your life can be a spiritual act. It's a way of making space not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. Donate what you no longer need. Choose experiences over objects, relationships over status symbols. These small steps create room for what truly matters: joy, connection, and purpose. As you release your hold on material attachments, you might notice something unexpected: a sense of lightness, a freedom you didn't realize you were missing. The peace that comes with this freedom is unparalleled. You begin to see abundance not as a bank balance, but as the richness of your spirit. You realize that even with empty hands, you can have a full heart. In God, there is no lack. This truth allows you to live with gratitude, knowing that everything you need is already provided for. As this transformation unfolds, another layer is revealed: the illusion of control. We like to think we are masters of our fate, meticulously planning every detail of our lives. Schedules, lists, and goals can create a sense of security, a belief that we are steering the ship. But life often has other plans: unexpected detours, unfulfilled expectations, and sudden challenges remind us of one truth: control is an illusion. Highly anointed people understand this through lived experience. They realize that the need for control is rooted in fear: the fear of the unknown, the fear of failure, the fear of being unprepared. But fear cannot be silenced by control. It can only be quieted by trust. Trust in a God who sees what we cannot. Trust that His plans are greater than ours. Letting go of control doesn't mean giving up. It means stepping aside and letting God take the lead. Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6 captures this beautifully. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. This is not a passive act. It's an active surrender, a conscious choice to believe that even when life feels chaotic, it is held together by divine hands. When things don't go as planned, instead of spiraling into panic, pause. Take a deep breath and pray. Ask, God, what are you trying to teach me in this moment? Over time, this practice becomes second nature. You begin to trust not just the destinations, but the detours. The missed opportunities, the closed doors, the unexpected delays, they all hold meaning. They are not failures, but redirections, guiding you closer to your purpose. Identify one area in your life where you're clinging too tightly. Maybe it's a career goal that feels like an uphill battle. Perhaps it's a relationship where you're trying to force an outcome. What would happen if you released your grip? Could you trust that God's plan is unfolding perfectly, even if you can't yet see it? The peace that comes with surrender is profound. You find rest in the uncertainty, comfort in the unknown. You realize that you don't need all the answers because you are walking with the one who does. This is the essence of faith, not just believing in God, but trusting Him enough to let go. As you embrace this trust, something else becomes clear. Not every relationship is meant to last. Some connections, no matter how deep or long-standing, are not aligned with your divine path. Toxic relationships, those that drain your energy and cloud your spirit, are like anchors tied to your soul. They may feel steady at first, but over time, they weigh you down and keep you from moving forward. Letting go of these relationships is one of the most challenging acts of faith. It means stepping into uncertainty, severing ties with comfort, and sometimes facing the pain of loss. But it's also one of the most freeing acts. Protecting your peace is not selfish, it's sacred. As 1 Corinthians 15 verse 33 reminds us, bad company corrupts good character. Recognizing toxic relationships often requires reflection. Pay attention to patterns. Is there a friend who constantly takes without giving? A partner who diminishes your confidence? A relative who repeatedly crosses your boundaries? These dynamics may feel familiar, but familiarity can be a trap. Sometimes we hold on not because it's right, but because it's all we've known. The first step to releasing these relationships is clarity. Ask yourself, does this connection bring me closer to who God is calling me to be, or does it pull me further away? Be honest. The truth may be uncomfortable, but it is also liberating. Once you've identified these relationships, the next step is setting boundaries. This doesn't mean cutting people off without explanation. It means protecting your time, energy, and emotional well-being. Start small. Say no when needed. Limit interactions. Observe how the other person responds. Healthy relationships will respect your limits. Toxic ones will push back harder. Remember, letting go doesn't mean abandoning love or kindness. You can care for someone from a distance. You can forgive without re-entering their orbit. Releasing someone from your life is not about rejection. It's about alignment. It's about making space for the people and connections that uplift and support you. Through these acts of surrender, you begin to notice a shift. Your life feels lighter, your spirit freer. You are no longer weighed down by possessions, fear, or toxic ties. This is the power of walking in alignment with God's purpose. It's not about perfection, but about progress, a daily journey of letting go and leaning into His divine guidance. Authenticity is one of the most beautiful yet challenging aspects of walking in divine purpose. From a young age, we are conditioned to seek approval, to conform, and to fit into molds created by others. We learn to adjust our behavior, silence parts of ourselves, and wear masks to avoid conflict or rejection. At first, these adjustments may seem harmless, a small compromise here, a quiet agreement there. But over time, they become a habit. You start playing a role so often that you forget the sound of your own voice. Highly anointed people reach a point where this compromise becomes unbearable. They begin to realize that shaping themselves to fit others' expectations is not only exhausting, but also a disservice to the person God uniquely created them to be. As Psalm 139 verse 14 reminds us, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. Living authentically is not just about honesty. It's about wholeness. It's about standing firm in your values, pursuing your calling unapologetically, and allowing your unique light to shine. The cost of compromising your authenticity is far greater than the temporary comfort it provides. Each time you shrink yourself to make others comfortable, you trade a piece of your soul for approval that won't last. The applause of others may be fleeting, but the peace that comes from living in alignment with your true self is eternal. The journey to authenticity begins with self-awareness. Take a moment to ask yourself, where am I hiding? What parts of me am I silencing for the sake of others? These answers may be uncomfortable, but they are also liberating. Identifying these patterns is the first step to breaking free. The next step is courage. It takes courage to say no when something feels wrong, even if it risks conflict. It takes courage to speak your truth, even when it's inconvenient. And it takes courage to stand in your uniqueness, even if it sets you apart. Living authentically doesn't mean you'll always be liked, but it does mean you'll always be true to yourself and to God. This process is not linear. Some days, you'll feel bold and unshakable. Other days, fear will whisper that it's safer to shrink, to blend in, to go unnoticed. But as you let go of the need to please, you'll discover something powerful. The more you show up as your true self, the more aligned your life feels. You attract the right people, the right opportunities, and the right path. This alignment brings a peace that no amount of external validation could ever provide. As you continue this journey of surrender, another profound realization emerges. The fear of death begins to lose its grip. For many, death is the ultimate unknown, a source of dread and anxiety. It's a door shrouded in mystery, and the thought of it often lingers at the edges of our consciousness. We may push it away, distract ourselves, or avoid the topic altogether. But for those walking closely with God, death is not an end, it's a transition. Highly anointed people begin to see death not as a loss, but as a gateway to eternity. This understanding transforms how they live. Instead of seeing life as a race against the clock, they view it as a canvas to be painted with love, courage, and purpose. As 1 Corinthians 15 verse 55 triumphantly declares, "Where, O death, is your victory? Where, O death, is your sting?" This perspective shifts everything. When you stop fearing death, you start living fully. The fear of mortality often holds us back. It anchors us in the what-ifs and steals the joy of the present moment. But when you confront this fear with faith, you find freedom. You begin to focus on the beauty of today, the laughter you share, the sunsets you witness, the work you do with passion and purpose. Each moment becomes a gift, a chance to live boldly and love deeply. Part of overcoming the fear of death is choosing legacy over anxiety. Instead of worrying about how your story will end, focus on how you are writing it today. What impact do you want to leave? How do you want people to feel after crossing paths with you? These questions bring clarity and purpose to your daily actions. They shift your perspective from fear to intention. Faith is the cornerstone of this transformation. It's the belief that your soul was made for eternity, that what lies beyond this life is held in the hands of a loving God. This faith allows you to face uncertainty with peace, knowing that your story doesn't end at the grave. Instead, it continues in a divine realm beyond human comprehension. This doesn't mean ignoring the reality of death. It means confronting it with a heart anchored in God's promises. It's about living with an awareness that life is fleeting yet beautiful, fragile yet filled with purpose. This awareness fuels gratitude. It reminds you to cherish the moments you have and to invest in the things that truly matter: your faith, your relationships, your impact. As you embrace this perspective, your life takes on a new vibrancy. You love more deeply, take braver steps, and live with a boldness that comes from knowing the finish line is not the end. It's the beginning of something far greater. This boldness is contagious. It inspires those around you to live with the same courage and purpose. Your life becomes a testament to the power of faith, a reflection of God's grace at work in the world. Through these shifts, embracing authenticity, letting go of fear, and living with purpose, you become a vessel for God's light. Your journey inspires others, not because it's perfect, but because it's real. You show them what it means to walk by faith, to trust in a plan greater than your own, and to find peace in every circumstance. As you move forward, remember that this journey is not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about waking up each day and choosing to align your actions with your faith. Some days will be easier than others, but with each step, you grow closer to the person God has called you to be. You shed the weight of what no longer serves you and step into the fullness of your divine purpose. This transformation is not a one-time event, but a lifelong process. It requires patience, perseverance, and trust. But the rewards are immeasurable. You gain a peace that surpasses understanding, a joy that is unshaken by circumstances, and a purpose that fuels your every action. This is the beauty of walking in God's anointing, a journey that transforms not only your life, but also the lives of those you touch. Life takes on a profound depth when you begin to see it through the lens of divine purpose. The superficial pursuits and distractions that once held your attention begin to fade, replaced by a yearning for something eternal. As you walk closer to God, the shedding of old patterns, toxic relationships, and superficial desires becomes not just necessary but sacred. This is not a journey of deprivation, but of transformation, where you trade what is fleeting for what is everlasting. One of the most liberating realizations on this journey is that your identity is not defined by others' expectations. The world often tries to mold us into versions of ourselves that fit its agenda, valuing conformity over authenticity. But you were not created to conform. You were created to transform. This shift from seeking approval to embracing authenticity is both freeing and powerful. When you let go of the need to please others, you discover a quieter, more profound joy. This joy is rooted not in applause or accolades, but in the steady assurance that you are walking in alignment with God's will. It allows you to live boldly, unapologetically, as the person you were created to be. This authenticity is magnetic. It draws the right people into your life, those who celebrate your unique gifts and encourage your growth. As you grow in this awareness, you begin to recognize the people and patterns that no longer align with your divine purpose. Toxic relationships, which once felt like fixtures in your life, start to feel like barriers. These connections drain your energy, cloud your vision, and stunt your growth. Letting go of them is not an act of rejection, but an act of self-preservation. It's a way of honoring the person God is calling you to become. This process of release often comes with challenges. There may be moments of doubt, sadness, or even guilt. But remember, letting go of toxic relationships doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you prioritize your peace, your growth, and your purpose. You can release someone from your life while still wishing them well. This act of release creates space for relationships that uplift and support you. Healthy boundaries become essential during this phase of transformation. These boundaries are not walling, but safeguards, designed to protect your emotional and spiritual well-being. Setting boundaries might feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you've spent years accommodating others at the expense of yourself. But with time, these boundaries become a source of strength. They help you navigate relationships with clarity and intention, ensuring that your time and energy are invested in what truly matters. As you create this space, you may notice something beautiful, a deepened connection with God. Without the noise and distractions of toxic relationships, you can hear His voice more clearly. You can feel His guidance more profoundly. This clarity strengthens your faith and fuels your courage, allowing you to step into the fullness of your calling. Part of stepping into this calling involves confronting the illusions we cling to. Control, for instance, is one of the most persistent illusions. We plan, strategize, and strive to manage every aspect of our lives, believing that if we just try hard enough, we can orchestrate perfect outcomes. But life is not a puzzle to be solved. It's a mystery to be lived. And in this mystery, control is an illusion. Highly anointed people learn to trade this illusion of control for the reality of faith. They come to understand that their plans, no matter how well-intentioned, are limited by human perspective. God's plans, on the other hand, are infinite in wisdom and scope. Trusting in His plans requires humility, patience, and surrender. It means acknowledging that you don't have all the answers and that you don't need to. This surrender is not a sign of weakness, but of strength. It takes courage to let go of the steering wheel and trust that God will guide you to where you need to be. This act of faith allows you to rest in His promises, even when the path ahead is unclear. It frees you from the anxiety of trying to control every outcome and opens your heart to the unexpected blessings that come when you let go. Imagine the peace that comes with this surrender. Instead of wrestling with uncertainty, you learn to rest in it. Instead of striving for control, you find joy and trust. This shift in perspective transforms not only how you live, but also how you love. You become more present, more open, and more attuned to the beauty of the moment. This transformation extends to every area of your life, including how you view material possessions. The relentless pursuit of more, the bigger house, the better car, the higher salary loses its appeal. You begin to see that true abundance is not measured by what you own, but by who you are. It's found in the depth of your relationships, the richness of your experiences, and the peace of knowing that you are walking in alignment with God's purpose. As you release your attachment to material things, you make space for something far greater. You learn to live with gratitude, finding joy in simplicity and contentment in the present moment. This shift doesn't mean renouncing all possessions, but rather reorienting your heart. It's about valuing people over things, purpose over status, and love over ambition. This freedom from materialism brings a profound sense of peace. You no longer feel the need to compete, to compare, or to prove your worth through external achievements. Instead, you rest in the assurance that your worth is already established by God. This realization allows you to live with generosity, sharing your time, resources, and gifts with others. In doing so, you reflect the heart of God, who gives abundantly and without reservation. Through these shifts, releasing toxic relationships, surrendering control, and letting go of material attachments, you begin to embody the light of God's grace. Your life becomes a testimony to His power and love. You inspire others not through perfection, but through authenticity, showing them what it means to live with courage, faith, and purpose. This journey is not without challenges. There will be moments of doubt, fear, and discomfort. But each step you take brings you closer to the person God created you to be. With every act of surrender, you shed the weight of what no longer serves you and step into the fullness of your divine calling. As this sacred journey of transformation continues, one final realization emerges, tying together all the lessons learned. Life is not a fleeting race toward an inevitable end, but a divine preparation for something far greater. This understanding transforms the fear of death into a quiet reverence for the eternal. The Anointed recognize that this life is but a shadow of the glory to come, a prelude to an eternal symphony orchestrated by God Himself. The fear of death often paralyzes us, chaining our hearts to anxiety about the unknown. But those who walk closely with God understand that death is not a conclusion. It is a continuation. It is the doorway to a realm of infinite joy, peace, and love, a realm prepared for us by the Creator. This realization brings freedom, allowing you to live fully and love deeply without the weight of what-ifs. Imagine for a moment that you are no longer afraid of the unknown. Instead of avoiding thoughts of mortality, you embrace them with faith, knowing that your soul is eternal and held securely in the hands of a loving God. This shift in perspective allows you to focus on the present, cherishing each moment and living with purpose. The sunsets become more vivid, the laughter more profound, the connections more meaningful. Highly anointed people understand the power of living with this eternal perspective. They are not bound by the trivial concerns of this world, but are anchored in the promises of God. This anchoring gives them a boldness that is unmistakable, a courage to live unapologetically, and a willingness to leave a lasting legacy. For them, the question is not, how long will I live? But how will I live today? This question shapes their actions, their decisions, and their relationships. Choosing legacy over fear is a profound act of faith. It's about living in a way that reflects God's love and leaves an imprint on the lives of others. It's not about striving for fame or accolades, but about quietly and consistently showing up as a light in a world that often feels dark. Every act of kindness, every word of encouragement, every moment of compassion becomes a thread in the tapestry of your legacy. This eternal perspective also transforms how you face challenges. When you know that death is not the end, setbacks lose their power to defeat you. Disappointments become opportunities for growth, and trials become refining fires that draw you closer to God. This resilience is not born of human strength, but of divine assurance, a deep knowing that God works all things for good, even the struggles you cannot yet understand. As this faith grows, so does your capacity to inspire others. Your life becomes a living testament to the power of grace, a beacon of hope for those searching for meaning. People are drawn to your authenticity, your courage, and your peace. They see in you a reflection of the divine, a glimpse of what it means to live with purpose and without fear. This journey of transformation, letting go of fear, embracing authenticity, releasing toxic relationships, surrendering control, and shifting from materialism to eternal purpose, culminates in a life that is full, free, and deeply aligned with God's calling. It is not a life without challenges, but a life rich in meaning, a life that reflects the beauty of God's grace. As you walk this path, remember that transformation is a process, not a destination. There will be days when the weight of the world feels heavy, when fear whispers doubts into your heart, when old patterns try to reassert themselves. But in those moments, remind yourself of the truth. You are a chosen child of God, fearfully and wonderfully made, called to a purpose greater than you can imagine. Let these truths anchor you. Let them remind you that you are never alone, that every step you take is guided by a loving hand. With each act of surrender, you move closer to the person God created you to be. And as you continue to shed what no longer serves you, you will discover the immeasurable beauty of walking in divine purpose. This is your invitation to live boldly, to love deeply, to let go of fear, and to embrace the fullness of who you are in God. Your life has a purpose, your story has meaning, and your impact has the power to ripple through eternity. As we conclude this journey together, I encourage you to take this message into your heart. Reflect on the areas of your life where you can surrender, grow, and trust more deeply. Know that the process may be challenging, but the rewards are beyond measure. And as you walk this path, remember that you are not alone. You are part of a greater story, one written by the Creator Himself. If this message has touched your heart, I invite you to join this community by subscribing to this channel. Together, we can continue exploring the depths of faith, purpose, and divine calling. If you found this video meaningful, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and leave a comment below about your own journey. Your story matters, and your voice can inspire others. Thank you for watching, and may God's blessings guide you, strengthen you, and fill you with peace. Until next time, remember, you are deeply loved, eternally valued, and called to live a life of purpose. Walk boldly in that truth, and let your light shine.